الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين. قال الله في كتابه الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فمن يريد الله أن يهديه يشرح صدره للإسلام ومن يرد أن يضله يجعل صدره ضيقا حرجا كأنما يصعد في السماء كذلك يجعل الله الرجس على الذين لا يؤمنون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Illuminate your hearts and minds with the loud salawat ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. As we slowly close in on the month of Muharram, and after every single type of religious month that there may be, one should sit down for a second and think how much of an effect and how much of a benefit one has had for the Ahlul Bayt during this month. These blessed months that's passed, these blessed opportunities that go by, are things that when my people might overlook, some people might not take for granted and use them correctly. Now tonight is the last night for our Muharram program in this Masjid of Al-Zahra. And we can take a second to think how much we did or how we did it for the Imam Hussein alayhi salam. For such a month in which there was no less than sorrow and grief for the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Some of us might have helped out, some of us might have cried more, some of us might have grieved harder, might have hit our chests harder in any type of way. Take a second to think, what have I done during this month? Some people might come to this conclusion and realization that during this month of sadness, sorrow, and grief, one wasn't able to portray this in the way that it should have been. Meaning that I wasn't as sad as needed for this month, for this time that I have been given for this month. The sorrows of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, when I'm sitting down in a gathering and there is a remembrance of grief for the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. People are shedding tears, they are crying, and I'm sitting down alone between every single person, and I see how they are all so sad and so much in grief for the Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But one thing confuses me. Why am I not able to shed at least a single tear for the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, for the Imam Hussein alayhi salam? Why is it that everyone who's gathered around me, even though I'm with them, we are the same people, we are both Shias, we both believe in the Imam Hussein alayhi salam, even though I've come in this gathering, unfortunately I'm not able to even shed a single tear, let alone have my eyelashes wet from tears. Just a little bit of wetness. Why does this happen? Why are some of us not able to even shed a single tear or feel a bit shaken in our hearts for the Imam Hussein alayhi salam? We will begin with a loud salawat ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. There are many different characteristics or traits that exist between and inside the human nature. One might be kind, one might be giving, one might be greedy, one might be arrogant. And so these characteristics or traits not only portray oneself but also portrays one's soul, the true self, the soul. And when one's soul is tainted through wrong, their souls become hardened, similar to a rock. And with such a hard and stiffened soul, one's soul is not soft or raqiq, so that they may be able to accept effect from the grief or sorrow from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, otherwise known as qisawat or qiswatul qalb. One might not feel sorrow for the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, for the Imam Hussein alayhi salam, even though 13, 14 days have passed, 13, 14 nights have passed. And every single night I've come to the majalis or the gatherings of the Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and not once have I been able to shed a single tear. What could be the cause of it? I've come every single night. Is it possible that the Imam Hussein alayhi salam is rejecting me? Does he not want me in his majlis? Does he not want to give me permission to shed a tear for him? It is the opposite exactly. It's that I don't want myself to let this sorrow affect me. Qisawat, or the stone-heartedness of someone, is when certain elements, factors have an effect on my heart in such a way that it stiffens, becomes like a rock. And because of this, my heart is not affected through the sorrow or grief of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And it's not only through Islamic factors or religious factors that might affect my heart and it might not take any effect, but also the grief of others. Take a look on what happened in Karbala. Imam Hussein's alayhi salam daughter, Lady Ruqayya alayhi salam, how she was tortured. She was only a three-year-old child. But look at what evil they did to her. Look how much they abused her. They hurt her. The Imam Hussein alayhi salam himself, they had no remorse for the Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Lady Zainab, his son Ali Akbar, Ali Asghar, and the list goes on and on and on. Today, during our time, we can see how there are lots of crimes going on. Crime rates, assault, abuse. The reason why there are so much wrong, there is so much evil going on, is not that these people are bad to begin with. No, it's because their hearts have stiffened and become like rocks, and so they don't feel shaken or wither by any type of sorrow or grief, whether it be is an Islamic factor or from the grief or sadness of others. So one might ask a simple question. Qisawat, or this stone-heartedness, is not something that happens out of nowhere. It's not something that I'm born with. It's something that happens over time. And so what's the reason that such a thing happens over time? What's the cause? What's the factor? What's the sole purpose of me having a stone heart and slowly not even being able to feel sad for the Imam Hussein alayhi salam? What's the reason? What could cause me to be in such a state? Before we move forward and answer this question, one has to know that qisawat, or the stoneness of one's heart, has different levels. It might start with not feeling sad for the grief of others, to not feeling bad when you are doing wrong. Example, Karbala itself. And every single stage or level of qisawat, or qiswatul qalb, the stoneness of one heart, has lots of dangers and threats. And if one person does not try to heal this, not try to get rid of this thickness, then it could cause too many different problems. In a hadith from the Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says that ma jaffat ad-dumu' illa liqiswat al-qulub. The tears of one's eyes do not dry unless it's for one's stone-heartedness. I might not be able to shed a tear for another person's sadness, sorrow. It's because my heart is thick and has been turned into stone. وَمَا قَسَتِ الْقُلُوبُ إِلَّا لِكِثْرَةِ الذُّنُوبِ. And one's heart does not turn into stone except for the reason or the effects that lots of sin or wrongdoing that might have on this person's heart. Please let's recite Allah salawat ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad.